Welcome everyone to the Study Abroad in the UK about the UC designed programs in London. My name is Adrienne Cifuentes. I am the UK Regional Advisor at UCSB, and we are joined today by Francesco Gagliardi from Accent Global Learning and Matt Maslin, who is the London Study Center Director. So with that, please take it away.
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you, Adrian. Thank you, everybody, for joining this live presentation today. So what we're going to do today, we're going to learn a little bit about all the programs offered in London. All programs are UC design programs, and I'm going to talk to you in a few moments about the benefits about studying on a study abroad, UCAP study abroad program. So I want to introduce myself. My name is Francesco Gagliardi. I am the Campus Outreach Liaison at Accent Global Learning. Just to give you a little bit of information about Accent, we are a study abroad organization. We have been partnering with over 60 US colleges and universities. We have partnered with UCAP specifically for almost 20 years. And what we do is we develop with the University of California curricula for all the study abroad programs. We manage the on-site housing, and we do offer health and safety services to all students that are enrolled in our programs when they are overseas. Today with us, as Adrian said earlier, there's a special guest directly from London, Matt Maslin, the Study Center Director in London.
Hello everyone, I'm very happy to be here to talk about the UC London programs.
And I'm going to give the floor back to him very soon, guys, don't worry about it. So I'm just gonna spend a few more minutes just highlighting the benefits of studying on a UCAP program. So UCAP, the University of California Education Abroad Programs, is the official provider of study abroad programs across all the UC campuses for the entire UC system. The programs are designed only for UC students, and they constantly evolve based on the needs of the student body. Your UC enrollment continues abroad, and you will have to pay tuition at another university. You have the opportunity to use your financial aid for most of our programs. So if you're on a financial aid plan, you can arrange a meeting with the study abroad office and the financial aid people and try to understand whether the program you choose is an option in terms of getting some aid. On all the UCAP programs, you take classes, and the credit that you earn is directly UC credit and will go directly onto your transcript. Just want to tell you a little bit about the eligibility and general requirements for all the programs we're going to see today. In order to apply for this program, you got to be a registered UC student in a good academic standing and not on probation or disciplinary status. The requirements for all the programs are minimum GPA 2.5, and in this case, obviously it's English, but there's no language requirement. Okay, Matt, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So yes, London. London is, in my opinion, one of the best cities in the world, but I'm a little bit biased because I was born here. But it does have a little bit of something for everybody, from history, culture, architecture, business, arts, fashion, food, you name it. London has something for everybody. The population is about 9 million people. It's known as being, in modern day times, as being a business and economic hub. And it's really multicultural. People from all over the world live or visit here. So there's a really diverse population, which helps make it such an interesting place. In terms of the UCAP London Study Centre itself, there's a lovely picture of it there. As you can see, it's a Georgian townhouse. So the building itself it's pretty old. It was built about 1775 to 1780. So a lot of history just in the building itself there. It's located on Bedford Square in Bloomsbury. Inside the study centre, there are 6 classrooms. There is a library, there's a study area with computers and a printer that you can use. And you'll have all your classes within the study centre when you are taking class actually in the classroom. Obviously, with study abroad, part of the experience is to get out of the classroom and use the city as a classroom. But when you do have a class, it will be in the Accent Study Centre here. The area of Bloomsbury is known as being the centre for academia in the UK. So we're surrounded by London universities, UCL, SOAS, New College of Humanities, we have Birkbeck. So there's lots of universities in this area, which makes it a really interesting place. Lots of students around, so you might get a chance to meet some local students. Also nearby, like really near, is the British Museum. You can actually see it from our windows, so it's about a 2 or 3 minute walk away. We're also near the British Library, the Wellcome Collection, several train stations such as Euston and King's Cross, so you can get around England. And also it's near Oxford Street if you're into shopping. That's the main shopping street in London. And it's near Soho, which is one of the most fun places to go out. Okay, and now I'm just going to talk a little bit about each of the customised programmes that UCEAP offer in London. So to kick off, we have the Business and Entrepreneurship in London programme. This is actually new, so it's going to launch in 2021 as a spring semester with an internship option. And then in the future, it would actually run as a winter quarter, so from January to March, with extension option and an internship. The courses that are going to be offered are Digital Technology and Work, Introduction to Global Entrepreneurship, Data Analytics and Storytelling, International Economics, although not in Spring 21, and Brand Management. And then the internship is optional, so you can opt in to take an internship. If you do, it's an opportunity to gain really valuable work experience. What we do is we interview the students and find out what areas they're interested in, and then we try and match them to a placement in that field. So you won't just be thrown into something that you're not interested in, but it's something that's really good for your resume, and it's a good experience. You get to experience the kind of work culture in the UK as well. And then some of the excursions that we'll do as part of this is a special tour of Wimbledon tennis, and they talk about the business side of it. So what is it like to host a major sporting event, how they get their revenues, their marketing, how they use their brand. I've been on the tour, it's really interesting. And then they do a lot behind the scenes stuff if you're into media and sport as well. And then we'll also take you to on a walking tour of the Silicon Roundabout, which is the area known as Old Street. It's kind of like our version of Silicon Valley. So lots of startups, lots of tech companies. Okay, and then next up we have the Global Cities Urban Realities program, which is one of my favourites. It's a very intense program, so you do a lot in a small period, but you get to visit London and Paris. So that's pretty amazing. You can see some of the topics that are covered here. So things like global studies, urban studies, communications, political science, history, sociology, anthropology. So a real wide range of different topics are covered there. And it's run as a spring quarter or a spring semester. And there again, there is the option of the internship. So the internship will be done in London after the end of the semester. So you do study in Paris for 5 weeks, London for 5 weeks, and then do an internship extension. The courses are really interesting. So we have the core course that you have to do in London is called London Uncovered. So it's all about, it covers the history and contemporary, pretty much everything about London. Then the electives are Policing London, Exhibiting Ourselves, which is a museums course, and normally we will offer a healthcare course as well. And then in Paris, The required courses are Pursuing Paris and then Unlocking French as the language requirement as well. And their electives there are Unveiling the Republic, France in the Muslim world and the Muslim world in France, and then also food, which is obviously a very interesting thing to study in France. So food in a global city and looking at the culture and politics of food. And then to give you an example of the type of day trips that we would offer in London, we would take you to Hampton Court Palace, which is former home of Henry VIII. Really interesting day trip. It's nice to get out of London as well and experience a bit of the countryside. And then in Paris, they take you to the chateau at Chantilly. Okay, and then next up we have London Calling, which is the full quarter or semester. There's a really diverse number of different electives that you can choose from, but some of the subjects that it will cover include sociology, political science, health science and music studies, but it will actually cover quite a few other areas as well, so it's worth checking on with your UC EAP advisor. The core course is called London Society and Space, which will be looking at London throughout the ages and kind of the global metropolis that it's become. And then you can choose from a number of electives, the London music scene, which is looking at the history of music in the UK and also comparing it to the US. And not just London, there's a lot about the Beatles as well. Britain and the EU, which is obviously very relevant. We are still going through the Brexit process. One day may be resolved. London museums, comparative media, comparative healthcare and British cinema. Comparative healthcare and British cinema are the two options that you can choose one of those two if you're doing the semester, and that is studied intensely in the first 5 weeks, and then the quarter program will follow that. Again, there is an option of an internship if that's something you're interested in. With all these internships, you will undertake a work placement, but also study a workforce course. So the workforce course goes hand in hand with the internship, and it will cover things about work culture and work politics and the history of work in the UK and also the future of work. So a lot of that will be about future work, the way that technology is influencing that. And then some example excursions. One of my favourites is Bath and Stonehenge. So get to see the world famous Stonehenge and then spend the afternoon in Bath, have a tour, have some free time. It's a really lovely Georgian town. The Roman baths are really interesting, so we'll have entry to the Roman baths. So there's a lot of history there. It's a really pretty place. And then we alternate between them, but a trip to either Oxford or Cambridge, both historic university towns. There's lots to do there. Interesting to go visit some of the colleges. There's lots of links to things like Harry Potter. So what we'll do is we have an organised tour there, so you can learn all about those two famous places. Okay, and then a little bit about housing. So you'd be housed in shared student apartments here in London. Before you arrive, we ask you to give a preference. If you do know anyone else who's going to be on the programme and you want it to be roommates or apartment mates, you can put your preferences in. And even if you don't know anyone on the programme, you can say, oh, I'm an early riser, or I'm a quiet sleeper. So you can kind of give your preferences, and we'll try and match you up with the most suitable people. Each of the apartments obviously has Wi-Fi throughout. There's a bathroom, there's a kitchen. It's a fully equipped kitchen, which is great. It means you can cook your own meals. It's a really good way to study abroad on a budget, because you can just go to the supermarket and cook for yourself. London has amazing restaurants and quite a few cheap deals as well, and street food and things like that, but it's not the cheapest city for eating out all the time, so it's nice to have that option to be able to cook for yourself. The flats are serviced, so they are cleaned weekly, and you also get a change of linens and towels, and there is heating if you are studying in the colder times. And then these are some photos of the apartments. They tend to be located rather close to the study centre, depending on which program you're doing, but you'll never be more than like 20 minutes away. So it'll be really short, you can walk it or you can jump on a bus or on the tube. So they are located rather centrally. As you can see, it's a nice living area, TV, you can sit at the table, do some work there, relax in the evenings. There's a nice homely feel to it. Okay, and then during your program, so during your time here, we'll put together a whole series of free or low-cost activities that you can sign up for. They're optional, obviously, if you have your own plans. If you want to explore other things, that's fine, but we will help arrange plenty of things to keep you occupied whilst you're here. Some of the examples are, for example, a tea at the Great Court restaurant in the British Museum, which you can see in the photo on the right. We've done a lot of boat trips, and then a tour of Greenwich. Visit to Kew Gardens is always an interesting one. And then we'll try and include some theatre shows. London has a really famous theatre area called the West End, so lots of big productions. So we'll try and include that as well. And there'll be several other things. So we try and arrange something every Friday afternoon, because you won't have class then. So there's plenty going on, and like I said, it's going to be free or low cost.
Thank you, Matt. I hope you guys, got a good taste of all the possibilities and all the programs available in London. Obviously, we don't have, a lot of time here, so we cannot go into details. However, feel free to visit your study abroad office. Probably you cannot visit it right now, but, get in contact with Adrian to get more information. I just want to remind you that financial aid may be available. I understand that perhaps for some of you, many of you, the cost is one of the things that you tend to put into under consideration. So if there's a way for you to save money and take advantage of the financial aid, explore this possibility. So the next step is, as I said, talk to your study abroad office staff, begin your application. And hopefully Matt is going to see you soon in the next year in London. So we're now ready for the Q&A session. You can either speak freely, or if you prefer, you can just write your question in the chat box, and I will read it out loud, and Matt can answer your questions.